I have two questions here. I'll read out the first one. I think they are from the same person. Bante, when I am meditating well, I can calm the mind quite quickly. Do I proceed with this, or just relax and enjoy the peace and state of calmness? Or do I direct the mind towards contemplation of the Dhamma?
Yeah, well, number one is trying to maintain your mindfulness and clear comprehension, whether you're calm, peaceful or not, because just feelings of calm, feelings of peace come and go, don't they? The factors of samadhi, the piti, the sukha, the sense of peace, sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's weak, sometimes it comes, sometimes it disappears. The important thing is to maintain mindfulness throughout. That's your number one priority. That's where all your efforts are directed to, is to maintain mindfulness so you don't get deluded even by the peace and the bliss of samadhi. When mindfulness is present, and particularly when it's continuous, well, then you've always got a chance to investigate the Dhamma, contemplate the Dhamma. So it may even just be contemplating the impermanent nature of the factors of samadhi, the state of calm you've achieved, how it fades, how piti and sukha arise, how they pass away. Or you can turn to a particular aspect of your experience of your body and mind. So you contemplate the body, we say. You turn to investigate the physical body. When you're feeling calm, you can do that because your mind is stable and steady. This is the advantage of continuous mindfulness and samadhi. You can turn to contemplate the body better, because the body is a difficult thing to be with. To investigate the changing nature of the body, the unattractive side of the body, to bring up the 32 parts or the 4 elements. You need a mind that is calm and stable to do that. So it's something to practice, isn't it? When you're feeling calm, stable, then turn to see if you can investigate the body a bit, to see its impermanent nature, and to see the fact it's not a self, it's not a being or a person that you can control or say is you, yourself. It's really a collection of physical elements that come together and are changing in a process of change all the time. It's the calm states of mind that allow you to investigate in that way. Or you could contemplate feelings similarly, how feelings, pleasure come and go, painful feelings come and go. And if you have painful feelings, which most of us do, really investigate them. Rather than always just wriggling around in your meditation, moving here and there, getting up, stopping and doing all that, stop and direct your mindfulness to actually look at the painful feeling and question it. What is it? Who is it? Who does it belong to? Where is it? How intense is it? You find that contemplation in the way of questioning often brings you a whole new attitude to your body and mind and to feelings. Because your mind is calm, you can question. And then you start to look at feeling in a different way rather than just reacting to it all the time. You can see feeling as an experience that arises, ceases, and maybe have this experience of separation between the mind that knows and the feeling. So there's the mind, there's body, there's the mind, there's feeling, there's mind and thoughts and perceptions. And it's this state of stillness that you're developing through mindfulness allows you to separate and then look at things in this detached way. And ultimately, this is bringing you more inner peace and understanding.
The second question, I think is from the same person. Bante, when you are contemplating different topics should we be concentrating or directing our thoughts towards the Dhamma rather than mundane topics?
It just depends, doesn't it, on the situation. During your meditation, I was explaining earlier, sometimes you can lift up a very worldly topic and use it to train your mind in mindfulness, to keep paying attention to it, consider it. As a way of training the mind, you can do that. But once the mind is more stable, mindfulness is more continuous, samadhi is arising, the mind is light, bright, happy in itself, well, then maybe just contemplate in a more continuous way, say the aspect of impermanence, for example, and just stick with that, stick with one thing. But having said that, during our life, during our day, we go to work, we have family, we do many things. There'll be issues that come up that will need your attention, money issues, relationship issues, work issues, health issues, and so on. There'll be things you need to understand, decide, make decisions on, of course, in a normal way, but you can use the qualities that you've been developing in meditation for that. When you have to make difficult decisions about things, I'd recommend establishing mindfulness first, just using your meditation techniques you've used regularly, calm the mind, if only for 1 minute. So you can even do it in a work situation where you have to make decisions, do things. Learn to just establish mindfulness for a few moments, pause, take 3 deep breaths, and then see what needs to be done, how you need to apply your mind, what you need to think through, what you need to decide. It's always good to find ways to establish mindfulness, even in the midst of a busy day and so on. So sometimes we do need to contemplate things. You can't just ignore everything in the world, can you? Sometimes you have to make decisions, complex decisions that require a lot of information gathering. Maybe you need to discuss things with other people and so on. Life, it just depends what aspect of life you're looking at. But we always use some of these same principles, bring up the mindfulness, ground the mind in goodwill, try and let go of the distractions, and then think through the issue, concentrate the mind, think through the issue, maybe solve a problem if it's needed. So that's not necessarily informal meditation, where I'm just talking here about general life, but you can use some of the things you learn from meditation in those situations.
Thank you, Luang Por. The next question, Suki Hotu Luang Por, is seeing nimitta considered entering into first jhana?
Can be. Or unfortunately, nimittas can also be very deluding. They certainly can be attractive, and a lot of people are sitting there waiting for a nimitta, wanting a nimitta. So be careful of that. It becomes an object of desire or distraction. If you're following the breath meditation, say, as your mind becomes more settled, peaceful, you may experience a lot of brightness, light, what we call light nimitta in the mind. Seen as the mind's attention is turned inwards, then the mind tends to brighten, becomes luminous, because you've let go of everything else. You're letting go of the body, you've closed your eyes, you're obviously not looking at anything, you're not paying attention to sounds, sensations. So as your attention is turned inwards, the mind can become very bright. So you may have this experience of light arising. And sometimes it's colors as well, different colors and shapes form in the mind, and they're just like reflections of the mind itself, because it's now peaceful and attention is turned inwards. Ajahn Chah used to say, just stick with the breath. The breath may become very refined, so it's just moving very slightly, very gently, or it may reach a point where the breath seems to disappear and the mind is totally still and you can't sense the in and out movement of the breath. Well, just stick with that. Maintain your mindfulness at that point and know that the breath has disappeared. And there may well be a light nimitta has arisen. But you don't need to think too much about it. It's just a signpost saying your mind is simple, is peaceful. Just stick with the knowledge and at that place where the mind has stopped, the breath has stopped moving and your mind is there, and just stick with your mindfulness right there. And the important thing is don't let your mind waver, get caught into thinking, doubting, wondering, when is a nimitta going to arise? What shall I do with this nimitta? You know, all of these things become distractions. You may also find you have other kinds of nimittas arise. Sometimes when your mind is peaceful, you know, you see things, see people's faces, you see places, images. What are you going to do with them? Well, you want to, again, maintain your mindfulness. Don't get lost in them. Don't let them trick you or delude you into thinking or wondering, I like this, I don't like that. I'm afraid of this, I desire that, I want that. Maintain your mindfulness, keep your mind in the center, and don't get caught into the attraction or the aversion or the fascination with different images that arise. And one thing all nimittas have in common is that they all arise and they pass away. And they're impermanent phenomena. They may be telling you something, and if they send you a message, your mind is peaceful, or you get some image of something that seems to tell you something, okay, fine. Sometimes people have their own body being, you know, an aspect of the body, a part of the body, or seeing the body as a corpse or a skeleton. Those things arise as well. So they may tell you something, give you an insight into impermanence, but just maintain your mindfulness and notice what's going on. And whatever they're telling you, you note that, and they may be teaching you to see the impermanent nature of some form or something. But then let go. Don't cling to them. Don't build them up into something that they're not. And be very careful of the deluding nature of nimittas. Because, of course, what's very close to a nimitta is your imagination. Your imagination can take over very quickly. And many, many meditators have fallen for the imagination. And they've become peaceful, but then they start seeing things, dreaming about things, fantasizing about things, creating things with their mind, things they like, or creating unpleasant images that they don't like and that cause them fear. And they're actually stimulating mental defilements, greed, anger, delusion. They're far from reducing greed, anger, and delusion, they're increasing greed, anger, and delusion. It's still possible. So you always need to have wisdom guiding your meditation, especially if nimittas arise. Keep your wisdom faculty active. Be aware of the impermanent nature of them, the selfless nature of them. I often quote the experience of one monk I knew. He was meditating in a cave for weeks on end. So he had an ideal situation just to sit and meditate for hours every day. And he started to get nimittas because he had no other person to talk to. He just had himself to be with. So, you know, your mind starts creating things. And he would tell other people, he would come out once a day to collect his food, and he'd say to other people, I'm really mindful and I'm experiencing deep states of samadhi and I'm peaceful. So everyone thought he's probably enlightened or close to enlightenment. As he said, he's got no more anger, no more desire, all is good. And then one day he had this nimitta of somebody bringing Pepsi Cola, because the weather was really hot, and that monastery he was in, it was really hot on a mountain. So you can imagine why he might have an nimitta of somebody bringing Pepsi Cola with ice. And this nimitta came to him, and he's sitting in meditation, and he saw them bring it to the meditation hall down at the bottom of the hill, and they placed it there with an invitation for the monks to come and have cold Pepsi Cola. So he came running down the hill looking for this cold Pepsi Cola that he could have on this hot day. and he met the abbot of the monastery, and he said, "Where's the Pepsi Cola? Where is it? Where is it? I've seen it. I've seen it in my nimitta. I know it's true. It's happened. I saw it. It must be true." And the abbot just walked away shaking his head, saying, "Oh, crazy monk, because there was no Pepsi Cola. It was all just his own imagination." So nimittas can be very deluding as well. I'm not saying they're not true. They can be true, but they can also be deluding. So be very cautious about nimittas, cautious about the desire for a nimitta, cautious about attaching to importance to nimittas, cautious about whatever you see, whatever you know. Yeah. It's all impermanent. It's all not self.
Sadhu Long Po. Thank you for the very clear answer to the question. Are there any more questions? No? Well, I guess there are no more questions. So we'll proceed to close the session.